Hello, child. Tell me, what ails you so? What brings you upon my doorstep, so that I may cleanse you? Oh, it's you! Hey, dude, what's going on? Oh, me? Oh, yeah, no, nothing much. I got some groceries yesterday. I did go on a nice date like a week ago. Still waiting for her to call me back. Oh, also, I became a holy man.
I want to worship the sun. I want to. Look at it. Look at it. How can you not look at that and want to worship? Come on now.
Now you might be asking, Direwire, why? Well, that's easy, you silly goose. I played Dark Souls.
Man, I have felt like I was dying all day. And you know what I thought? I thought, what better game to play when you feel like you're about to die than Dark Souls?
You know, maybe that actually doesn't explain it very well. Dark Souls is a game synonymous with... Some might argue that playing this game with the very minor amount of experience that I have was a less than stellar idea. I still played it, though.
I'm bad at games. I'm just bad at life in general.
And now I'm ready to make it everybody else's problem. That's right, I'm here to complain, and if you've got a problem with that, okay. Now, despite what you may think, I'm not going to complain about the difficulty of the game or how hard and unfair it was. No. I'm here to complain about the fact that I did not play this game sooner.
Hey, easy. Get good.
If there's one thing in life that brings me more joy than anything else, it's food. A close second, a challenge. No one is lying about this game being hard. That's kind of the whole point. The vast majority of the time, you're barely stronger than a regular enemy. But you aren't a regular enemy. You're more like an exterminator that just walked into the basement and found rats. Except the rats are 5 feet long and poisonous. And also there's a dragon. A really, really gross dragon.
That was so gross, bro. You need to see a doctor or something. What is wrong with you?
There are so few things in life that feel better than overcoming a massive challenge. And poking a fat nudist with a face only a mother could love with a toothpick until he keels over and dies is a pretty damn big hurdle.
Gotta remember to hit the right button. Gotta remember to dodge.
This game rapidly made me switch between feeling like an unstoppable force and an ant that some kid just hit with a magnifying glass. Sometimes both, at the same time. Sometimes it really feels like you're under a magnifying glass. Okay, enough complaining. It sucks that I didn't get to play this sooner, but I played it now, so whatever. Let's talk about first impressions. Mine? Terror.
This game actually scares the shit out of me.
This game is known for being difficult and unforgiving and infuriating enough to make you smash your computer in like you're a 1920s gangster with a tire iron.
Yeah, see? Say, it's nothing personal now here, but you gotta sleep with the fishes. I see, they're trying to put me on the spot, eh?
That one was so bad. What was that? And as I continued to play on, I realized, well, the rumors aren't wrong per se, but they are a touch exaggerated. I mean, sure, the game is difficult and absolutely unforgiving, but honestly, every time that you die, every time that you make a mistake, there's like a 99% chance that it's your fault. Sure, every once in a while, there's a trap that's kind of a little bullshit, but even then, if you die to it, well, now you know that it's there, so it's on you not to fall for it again. The ambiance is awesome, too. Everything is bleak and most areas are really dilapidated. It really fits with the whole you're gonna die a lot vibe. Add a couple of genuinely pretty views to clash with the actual flaming pile of dead bodies, and you've got a really cool setting. And I would know, I'm kind of a connoisseur when it comes to settings.
Hey guys, it's Dyer. Welcome to Ladder Reviews. I must say this one, it looks like it's out of repair. It's very rusty. It seems like nobody's been cleaning it, but it is very long. It's quite an enjoyable ride. I would be careful. There doesn't seem to be any safety nets around that could potentially save you if you fall. But overall, I'd give this ladder maybe a 6 out of 10 at the most.
The level system in this game is super simple, so I'm going to be quick because we have a plan to catch. Basically, you kill enemies to get souls. Once you have enough souls, you can go to a bonfire and level up and put a stat point into any of these wonderful stats. I would spend more time going over this, but honestly, it doesn't really matter how you invest your stats. If you're good at the game, you're going to do well, and if you're bad at the game, it doesn't matter how much health you have or how much damage you do, you're going to have a bad time. Your skill level is infinitely more important than your stat sheet. That's why people can beat this game without leveling up even once. I mean, I sure as hell couldn't, but some people can. Okay, now hurry up. We've got to get to the airport soon if we're going to catch our flight. What? Oh, I didn't tell you. I bought tickets to Africa because that's what holy men do, I think. I don't know, a lot of like religious people go to Africa. I just thought that was like a good route to go. For some reason, they gave me 2 tickets, but now you're here, so it actually kind of works out. Very minor spoiler that isn't really a spoiler because it doesn't have a whole lot to do with the actual lore of the game. And also the game is like 13 years old. If you're still upset about spoilers, just like go outside. Anyway, in the first halfish part of the game, your main goal is to ring 2 bells. One is at the top of the church in the undead parish, and the other is way further down in Blight Town. YouTube also has a bell. It also has a subscribe button. Do with that information what you will. In order to get to these bells, you have to fight a couple of bosses, and there are a couple of other bosses that you can fight to get special items or more souls or whatever, or just to challenge yourself. It's Dark Souls. If you're not fighting the bosses, what are you doing? Once you ring both bells, then a big gate opens up and you have access to more areas of the map. That's the goal that the game gives you, but I've got my own goal. My goal is to spread the good word.
Oh, hi! I just wanted to know if you've accepted the Lord into your heart. Be cleansed. 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 You know, sometimes I see something religious and my Southern Baptist alter ego just pops out and... Brother, it's time to worship. It's time to worship, brother. Can I get a hell yeah, brother? Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, brother. Sorry, heaven yeah, brother.
When you start the game, you have the option to choose a couple of different classes. This doesn't hard set you down any path or anything. It just kind of changes up your initial starting stats and it gives you a class-related weapon or 2. There are a bunch of different classes, but there's really only one actual choice. The Cleric. We're here to show everybody the light, to pioneer our religious escapades. Only a pagan would pick another class, and you're not a pagan, right? Right. These foul heretics are no match for the might of Jesus Christ in this mace that I found. Now, initially I was just going to proselytize about Jesus because that's pretty normal. Normal? Maybe not the right word.
Oh, the priest. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. This does not feel like forgiveness.
But then I realized, Direwire, you dumb bitch. This is Dark Souls. Jesus might be the go-to in the West, but here we're all about the sun. There are these things called covenants that you can join, and they give you stuff, I think. Now, there's one covenant called the Warriors of Sunlight, and this covenant is really just a way to give incentives for people to co-op with other players to help them fight bosses and stuff. But if I'm going to join a pseudo-religious organization, then I'm going to go all in.
Stop dodging. I'm trying to give you salvation. Praise the... That's what I'm saying, brother. That's what I'm saying.
Also, a lot of the time that you spend trying to help people fight their own bosses is really just sitting and watching TikToks while you're waiting to be summoned.
Are you the powerhouse of the cell because you're the mitochondria? Or are you the mitochondria because you're the powerhouse of the cell?
You know, I miss when they used to have those little packages of peanuts they gave out on planes. Stupid peanut people with peanut allergies just ruined it for everybody.
One of the only reasons this game can get away with being so unbelievably challenging is because, despite the high difficulty level, the controls are actually pretty easy to pick up and get a good handle on. Sure, your attacks are a little slow, but that forces you to be more careful with your swinging, which makes sure that you're making sure that you're timing everything perfectly.
Speaking of timing everything perfectly, this game has a parry mechanic. Unfortunately, I have the reaction speed of a desert rain frog tripping on MDMA. Trying to parry generally just led to me dying, so I didn't try it very often. I couldn't even find footage of me actually parrying something, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it.
On top of that, the game's structure is actually pretty simple. You go through whatever area that you're trying to get through, several times, probably, until you reach a boss, fight the boss, again, probably several times, until you beat it, then you retreat back to the closest bonfire to spend your hard-earned souls. And then you go to the next area, and you will be traveling a lot. The game's map is pretty big, and you tend to go back and forth through the same areas decently often.
Hey guys, Dyer with another ladder review. So some of you seem to be a little upset about how low I ranked this ladder. I have to say, my opinions are my own and yours are yours. So if you don't like my review, then fine.
Alright, let's talk about bosses now, because that's kind of one of the biggest things that Dark Souls is known for.
Oh, hi.
The bosses are hard. Sometimes. I was actually pretty surprised with how wide the difficulty range is between the different bosses. Don't get me wrong, the vast majority of the bosses are on the upper end of the
What the fuck is that?
range, but not all of them. For example, the Capra Demon is so easy it's hard to even really call it a boss. I don't know if I missed something during the fight, but I had more trouble fighting most of the mini bosses than I did this thing. I mean, I still died. Once. But it wasn't even to the boss. The two dogs that were in the same room caught me by surprise and pinned me to the wall.
Hey, this is Direwire in the editing room. Looking back at the footage, I actually did die to the Capra Demon, but it's still bullshit, so who cares?
Another example of an easy boss? The Gaping Dragon. Granted, not as easy as the Capra Demon, and to be honest, most things in life are pretty easy when you smite it with holy power. Unfortunately, these easier bosses are offset by the handful that genuinely make me want to jump off of a bridge.
Oh, he knocked me off.
Like the Stray Demon, who's just... You know when you see a mosquito flying around your room, so just to make absolutely sure that you kill it, you take out a 3-foot-long electric fly swatter and just electrocute it until its body stops twitching and the entire room starts to smell like cooked fly? That was me in this boss fight. I was the mosquito. He's just got this massive area of effect magic blast that is damn near impossible to dodge if you're not in the exact right place. This was the only boss fight that I was in where I genuinely started to think that it was unfair and that you had to get lucky. And then I took a little break. I went to bed, I had some food, I relaxed a bit, came back, and I beat him in like the next 2 runs.
One hit.
Yes! Fuck you, you little bastard! Screw you! Screw you!
It really shows that there isn't a single enemy that you can't beat in this game if you just stay patient and maybe do a little bit of research. Does it feel like really hot to you? Because it feels impossibly warm right now. The highlight of the game are clearly the boss fights, but it would be a crime. A sin, really. Not to talk about the rest of the enemies in the game. The bosses are difficult, but you will absolutely die more frequently to the regular enemies than any boss in this game.
Oh, I ran out of stamina.
However, there is a pretty massive range among the difficulty of the non-boss enemies, so I've made a little tier list to rank them for you. You're welcome. At the top of the list are bosses. We already talked about them, so moving on. Right underneath them, we have enemies that aren't bosses, but probably would be bosses in any other game, but this is Dark Souls, so they aren't considered bosses. These enemies are too difficult to be called something as demeaning as a mini-boss, but aren't an actual Dark Souls boss. Take the Hydra, for example. I had a way harder time with this thing than I did something like the Moonlight Butterfly.
What kind of moron just sits here and lets you do this?
The only real difference between enemies in this category and actual bosses is you can't run away from an actual boss, and the real bosses have their health bar displayed at the bottom of the screen instead of on their body. Next are mini-bosses. These tend to be physically a little bit smaller than bosses and enemies that aren't bosses but probably would be bosses. These enemies normally have a lot of health and or do a lot of damage, but they won't respawn after being killed. Examples of these enemies are the Metal Boar, Black Knights, the shield-wielding Beefcake, and Havel.
Hefty. Oh my goodness. I feel like if I hit you, you're gonna ring like the Taco Bell bong sound.
Then we have above average enemies, which are better than normal enemies because they do a little bit more damage or they're a little smarter, but they don't take more than a couple of seconds to take care of, like Hollow Knights.
Sir, that is not proper church attire. We're gonna have to send you to purgatory.
After that are regular enemies that you can take care of in a swing or two and move on, like regular Hollows. And after that we have fodder, just really weak, low health enemies that are only ever dangerous in groups. Just for funsies, you fit about here in terms of damage and health.
I might be weaker than you, but I promise I'm more stubborn.
What's kind of unique about Dark Souls is that dying isn't really a bad thing. Death in this game isn't so much a punishment as it is part of the learning process. Aw, you died because you mistimed dodging that really big swing and the enemy grabbed you with a grabber claw and slammed you into the ground repeatedly until you died. Well, now you know what that looks like, so don't fall for it again. That being said, dying sucks, and dying a lot sucks even more, so without further ado, I give you Direwire's tips and tricks that you probably already know because this game is 13 years old, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Tip number 1, always fight one-on-one. It doesn't matter how strong you are or how weak your enemy is, if you ganged up on, your odds of survival drop like crazy. Think of it like real life. In real life, it's easy to fight one third grader. It's a lot harder to fight 6 of them. Hell, even 2 enemies can be almost impossible to deal with if they start staggering their attacks just enough to stop you from having enough time to hit back.
That's so stupid.
Tip number 2. Blocking is so good. I went into the game thinking that I had to roll because it's Dark Souls. You roll, that's like the whole thing. But blocking is so damn useful. If you've got a good shield and a nice chunk of stamina, you can block pretty much anything but the biggest of attacks. You see that Hydra? That giant multi-headed snake that is several hundred times larger than I am? You can take your rinky-dink little shield and block it as it slams its head into you, and you will take no damage.
Alright, now I gotta go clean some stables or something. I don't know, go steal some old dude's dog.
Number 3. So there's this musical technique that's pretty prevalent in jazz, where a musician will create tension by playing really dissonant chords and then eventually resolving to something more consonant. Really good jazz musicians have no issue playing those dissonant chords for a long time to really build up that tension and anticipation. Well, apparently, every enemy in this game is the next John Coltrane because they just love holding their weapons up in the air long enough to make you wonder if they're ever going to swing.
Away, you moron. Nimrod, why are you undulating? Stop undulating. Ugh.
That being said, figure out your roll timing. Wait until the enemy actually swings or when you know they're going to swing and roll into the attack. Number 4, be patient and learn enemy attacks. You're not going to know how much time you have between attacks, where to stand, when to dodge, etc. unless you actually know what the enemy is doing. Once you do that, you're still going to die, but it's going to happen a lot less.
You know, that's okay. You can kill me a million times. I'm never gonna die in any way that matters. No matter how many times you kill me, I'm gonna be with you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
Number 5. Use the autofocus on small enemies. I cannot even begin to count the number of times I missed an attack because I wasn't aiming properly. With larger enemies, this isn't as much of an issue unless you have a hard time hitting a brick wall. You'll probably be fine.
Come here, let me spank ya. You been a bad, bad demon. Let me spank ya. Let me spank ya.
The enemies being a bit tough is one thing, but I think the unforgiving nature of the game can at least partially be attributed to how few bonfires there are. If you don't know, bonfires are respawn points, so when you inevitably die, this is where you end up. And there are like a negative number of bonfires around. To put it into perspective, here's a map. This is where you start off the game. Sort of. Technically, a big bird picks you up and brings you to this area, but that's whatever.
I'm an egg. I'm just egging out. Egg. Egg. Egg.
This is where you fight the second boss, the third boss. In total, there are like 5 bosses in this area that you have to fight. It's a pretty big chunk of the map. And there are 4 bonfires in this entire area. 4. This sounds bad, and to an extent, yeah, it does make the game more difficult, but the map itself is actually kind of cyclical, so you can get to 2 or 3 different areas pretty quickly from one bonfire.
Unfortunately, that also leads to situations where you finally get through one area after 3 consecutive hours of dying over and over again, only to realize that the new area that you're in uses the exact same bonfire.
I've been here. Oh, motherfuck. Now, this does mean that you're going to be walking through areas that you've been in more than a couple of times already, but that just means that you can visit some of your favorite parts of the map again.
Hey guys, I'd like to apologize for some things that I've said in the past. I wanted to bring up this ladder review as like the specific ladder from one of my past reviews to show you that, you know, sometimes people have differing opinions, but I'm a changed person now. I think that I've become better, and I'm going to continue working on myself.
Unfortunately, this lack of save points frequently forces you to take the walk of shame. If you die really, really far away from a bonfire, then you're going to have to make your way all the way back to where you died. And the further from the bonfire you have to travel, the more likely it is you're going to die because you'll be fighting more enemies, taking more damage, and using more healing items. It's all just a whole thing that gets really frustrating really quickly.
Okay.
And frustration leads to impatience. And impatience leads to death. And death leads to frustration. So take a deep breath, look at the sun, praise it, praise it.
Hey, sleepyhead. You know, your eyes start to twitch a lot about like 20 minutes before you wake up. You might want to see somebody about that.
Do you remember when I said I wasn't going to complain about how hard this game was? I lied. I tricked you. We're at the part of the video where I get to complain.
Man, I cannot wait to bitch about that later.
There's one area of this game that is so frustrating, so unbelievably unpleasant and tedious to get through that I can't not complain about it. It is practically my civic duty to talk to you about this. If you played Dark Souls already, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. That's right, I'm talking about Blight Town. The best real-life equivalent that I can think of for Blight Town is when you sit down in a toilet seat, but the toilet seat is wet, and also your phone died so you can't use it. And just when you think that things can't get any worse, the pipes break, and suddenly you're getting power washed by a makeshift bidet.
Why are there so many of you?
Blight Town is horrible. And it's not just for one reason. No, I can point out at least 3. First, almost everything here is poisonous. And it's not just the enemies. If you stand on the floor for too long, you get poisoned. It's like when you were a kid and you played The Floor is Lava. Except that was fun. The only way that you can get rid of poison is by using a consumable item, which aren't really in short supply, but it does put a physical limit on how many times you can die in Blighttown before having to make the trek back up top to get more. And that's not even the worst part. There's an even worse form of poison called Toxin, which kills you even faster, and you need a rarer item to cure that. You can track Toxin by getting hit by these stupid, obnoxious, blow dart wielding little bastards that shoot you from 200 meters away, and a single dart is almost enough to fully intoxicate you. The only good thing is once you kill the blow dart snipers, they're gone for good. They don't respawn.
Where does that put them on our chart? Where does that put them on our chart? Tell me right now, you better have been paying attention. Where does that put them on our chart?
Otherwise, getting through Blighttown would be significantly more unpleasant than it already is. And then there are the mosquitoes. Now, at face value, mosquitoes aren't that dangerous. They don't do much damage, their poison buildup isn't too bad, and they don't really have that much health either, but it doesn't matter because they are so ridiculously hard to hit. They sit just above your weapon's range, hovering like a smug little bastard watching you reach for the top shelf. You swing, you miss, you swing, you miss, you swing, you miss, you swing, you miss, and there's so many of them. They just keep spawning, and they keep coming at you, and you can't hit them. For a while, I thought that the most obnoxious opponent to deal with was this guy, because he uses his shield a lot, which means you can't hit him. Now it's going to take 15 years for him to turn the damn corner. But then I learned how to kick, and they weren't really an issue anymore. These? People play games as an escape, so why would you make the mosquitoes just as, if not more, annoying than they are in real life?
This hurts. This is causing me, like, actual mental and emotional pain.
Pair all of that up with an unpleasantly long walk back to Blighttown if you die before reaching the bonfire, and you get the most frustrating, unpleasant level that this game has. This part of the map legitimately makes me pause when I think about going for a second playthrough. I have had so much fun playing this game, but this one area, one singular part of the game is so tedious, so, dare I say it, unfun, that I actually almost don't want to play it again.
Once you get to the boss, it doesn't get any better because she is such a pain in the ass to fight. Let's put it this way, I have never been in a situation where a woman is not wearing a top and I am still angry. This game is changing who I am as a person. I hate you. I hate you so much. You have not only made me arachnophobic, you have made me misogynistic. I hate you because you are a spider and because you're a woman.
So, do you remember that extra ticket that I gave you? Well, it turns out that was actually supposed to be my return ticket. Apparently they misread the tickets and they let us both through to get here. I guess I'm trying to say we're stuck in Africa. I mean, it's not that bad. I've always wanted to go on a safari. As much as I'd love to keep talking about the game, I kind of stopped playing after I rang the second bell. It wasn't because it was too hard or anything like that. I was actually having a blast playing, but I had already sunk almost 23 hours into the game, and I haven't even gotten halfway through yet. Also, the next boss is a big dog, and he's so... I don't want to fight a dog. And apparently when he gets low on health, he starts like limping and stuff. I don't want to do that, man. For the sake of releasing the video in a somewhat timely manner, I stopped. But if you're interested in seeing me play more of it, I would 100% be down to continue and make another video. I don't know what it would be about, but this game is genuinely so much fun that I kind of don't want to stop. Anyway, let me know, leave a comment or whatever. Thanks for watching, I guess. I still don't know how to end these. Bye.